What's up, Magical Misfits? Drew here, and today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Chrissy, and she does not identify as, I don't think, either pagan or witch or anything that sort of fits into the vein that I'm in, the lane I'm in, really. But having said that, she is just this super, like, because all about energy work and about lots of things that I'm into that might lean more into the new agey kind of region, but that definitely overlap with the things we talk about in this community, as well as she's kind of this she's really this free spirit sort of earthy hippie chick. So like she's definitely, whether she identifies as pagan or not, she's definitely in that wheelhouse. So, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
First of all, I can't be any more awkward right now when I hear, so especially if it's like something nice. I almost do better if it was something not nice. I'd be like, if it's something nice, I'm like, I don't know, do I look? Do I smile? Do I nod? I don't know what to do.
Those weren't even huge compliments.
I feel like they were. I just literally my solar plexus tightened and I was like, oh, a compliment. I don't know what to do. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me on this channel. I watch your channel. Right now, I feel like almost starstruck being in your room. I'm like, oh, this is it. This is the studio. This is where it happens. So I watch this on TV, and then I see it, and now I'm in it. So I'm definitely geeking out a little bit.
It changed a lot since the last time you were in it.
But now I see it on your show.
Yeah.
So now I'm here. It reminds me when I went to DC, and I saw that, what's the big tower with the pool?
I know what you're talking about.
I really don't. I should know, but I don't know. But all I kept thinking when I was there was, oh, this is where Forrest and Jenny reunited. So I'm the worst. But as far as what I identify, I think I identify as a blank canvas because I'm into everything. I want to learn about everything. I'm curious about everything. I'm interested in everything. I have friends that are into Wiccan and pagan culture, into Christian culture, into Jehovah culture, into Rastafarian culture. And I'm like, tell me everything.
No, she literally is. I remember the first time I talked to her about witchcraft. She looked like a child who you were talking about, like the coolest candy or something. Like her jaw kind of dropped open a little bit and her eyes got bigger. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
You're gonna see it today as well throughout this entire video. You're gonna talk and I'm just be like, wow, what? I'm excited. I'm into all this stuff. This is good. I'm really happy to be here with you. Thank you so much, Drew.
Yeah. Well, I love you. You're so
I love you.
Okay, so we've known each other for a few years. We really got closer because we have a mutual friend who kind of was like, let's all hang out. And but we knew each other even before that. And we had attended a spirit group I used to be a regular part of before, but that kind of fell apart shortly after.
I'm not in that group.
Anymore either. Neither of us are in that. Anyway, moving on. Here on my channel, I have been talking about trauma work a lot lately and the work that I've been doing. So I thought, I'd ask you about it. I want to know if you have any go-to things. Is there something that you go to immediately when it comes to trauma work?
I call Holly immediately and say help. I'm half joking, but I'm half serious. I have this therapist. She's actually a social worker. And the things that she does with me, it's very hands-on. She does DBT and CBT therapies. It's almost like retraining my brain. And anytime we start to have a session where we're talking, we're never just talking. She's always like, go get your pen and paper. And I'm making charts and I'm writing things down. I want to see things. We recently did a little trauma work on identity is always a weak point for me. I don't know who I am ever. But we were doing this whole conversation about talking about who I am today and who I think I was and grieving a loss of the person that I used to be and no longer exists, and this whole in-depth conversation. And she was like, okay, I want to see you draw yourself then, draw yourself now. And I'm like stick figure because that's what's about to happen. She goes, yes, I want just whatever comes out. And I'm literally just sketching out what I think I used to look like, or it's just
so art therapy.
All the things. There's always some sort of chart that happens, but I need to see it. I need to roll my sleeves up and put my hands in it. Venting is, I'm not against it, but for me, it's just not enough. I need more. I need to pull things apart and really look at it and get kind of messy. I'm not afraid of that uncomfortable where you're like, I might throw up in therapy thing. Like, I'm okay with it. I'm like, good, that means I'm getting to something.
Right, yeah. I actually am. I'm not, I wouldn't call it venting, but I need to speak it. I need to say the thing. And then analyze the feelings that what goes on inside of me when that happens. I've never mapped it out. I don't even think I've ever really even journaled about trauma before, but it sounds very interesting. This is totally off topic, but I could see how it could like translate. I love intuitive painting. So maybe doing some intuitive painting, like getting into a trauma space and then doing it and seeing what that looks like.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
I've done things where you just write words. You just, like, words are just pouring out of you and you don't even, they're not sentences.
Right.
It's just key words, and sometimes a sentence forms, but it's rare. And I like that purging. Yeah. I need to get stuff out.
So identity is the big one that you work on?
I think so, yeah. Anytime I have a feeling that I would classify as negative, jealousy, insecurity, sadness, fear, especially fear, anxiety related feelings, it always is, right? I feel it in the solar plexus, like every time. Like that's immediately where it is. That's where I hold anything. I get like the nervous tummy.
Right.
You got poop. It's all from the solar plexus. But I'm really good at identifying what I'm feeling. I just don't always know what to do with it next. And that's where I need the help.
I was going to say, it's nice that you have an outlet, somebody to help you.
Yeah, because I'm like, it is not always common for someone to be able to identify what they're feeling, or maybe identify it but not verbalize it. Like that's not always easy to do.
Right.
I'm good at that stuff. I can identify it. I can dig deep and go, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's coming up for me, and then speak it. But then I'm always like,
where do I go from there?
Yeah. Now what?
Okay. Yeah, I get that. I've struggled with identity too. It's more for me. The identity piece is, and I know you probably can relate to this on some level, is sometimes when I do get into a community space, it's hard. It's like how much of me is tied to this community, like it starts to blur a little bit and can get a little weird and change like how I feel about myself, or like the way I look at myself. I'm being too
like where
I might start to examine myself through external sources, and that there's no way to know if that's accurate. Like it's a whole thing, right? But I think where I struggle the most with identity is usually when something shifts and there's this big change that goes on within me, because this just happened a couple years ago, but it happens, and then I'm like, ooh, I'm in this weird space where it's like, okay, I'm no longer that thing, and I'm not yet this thing, and like, so I struggle with letting go of the comfortable thing that I had been and moving into that awkward space of whatever is becoming, especially since it's usually pretty vague. It's like I don't really know what that looks like. I think for me, that's a huge part when I struggle with identity. It's more about just, I struggle with the fluidity of rolling with what is happening and not getting stuck and staying in one little box or whatever.
Oh man, I totally understand what you're saying. I definitely understand what you're saying. I go all in. Something will catch my attention. And it's like a hobby or an interest, and I'm going, oh yeah, like that. I feel that in my soul. Like, for example, I grew up dancing. I love to dance. In my mid-20s, I discovered Zumba. So it wasn't just, I couldn't just, I'm gonna get a Zumba license to, teach a couple classes. No, I had to like morph into dance and fitness instructor, like extraordinaire. Like it had to be like, I had like to have like the hair, it was crazy, and it was like all these colors. I used to put like glitter before class. I'd have glitter on, and I was always in like tiny workout clothes, and I would really force myself to look the part. So my eating habits were not where they should be. I wanted to be like tiny, and so I was being hard on myself, and and had to fit this like billboard version of what I thought a fitness instructor would be. Okay. Then I move here and I fall in North Carolina, and I fall in love with spirituality, and I start meeting really cool people in the community. And then I'm like, okay, this entire wardrobe's getting thrown out. I need hippie clothes and long hair, and I need flowers around my head at all times. Like anything that resonates, I think I have to go 1,000% in.
Right.
And then anything else, any version of self,
so you're
gets
losing
pushed
parts
out.
of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I take one version of self, and that becomes dominant.
I can understand why that would be
an
issue.
I'm like, what disorder is this? Somebody label this.
I think I can relate on a very small. Like there have been things that I've like dove that, but like it's not been that consistent. You know what I mean? So like, but I think I can understand what you're saying, and like I can see why that would be like a super issue, because I think I even did that kind of. It's a little different. Like I've talked about this on the channel before, so you guys are going to hear this again. But I've had relationships, and the one relationship that in particular that you've had a similar experience with, it pushed me because I felt like part of me wasn't accepted in that circumstance, and it pushed me deeper into that, which is a good thing. But then I felt stuck in that one thing, and it's like, this isn't the totality of me. It's just where I focused all my attention and energy because of this catalyst that,
Yeah.
So like I can kind of relate to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to and even now it's still a practice. I mean, I've come a long way. I've mastered nothing, but I've come a long way, and but it's still just entertaining the concept that I'm like, what do you call it? Multifaceted, is that the right?
Yeah.
There's like many layers, like an onion. Like there's all different sides to me.
Yeah.
And just embracing that instead of trying to pick one identity and become that and only that. And that's still something I'm probably embracing it more now than ever. Where I'm just like, some days I feel a little like this, and some days I'm feeling a little like that, and make it okay. Not make it wrong.
I think another reason in this, do with this what you will. But as an outside observer, I can understand why you would struggle, because you are someone who I can relate needs authenticity within the self.
Yeah.
We need to be authentic.
Yeah.
And in the world we live in, we all sort of present a persona, and like that persona looks a certain, like, so even though I may be moving through 50 different attitudes in a week, or whatever versions of myself, most other people aren't really going to see that. You know what I mean? They're only going to get a certain piece of me. And it seems to me like you might struggle with that more than the rest of us do. Oh,
for sure.
Right.
Oh, for sure. That's why I didn't do well on social media, other than the YouTube channel. I can't have it, because no matter what I would try and do with Facebook, Instagram, I'd somehow end up creating a persona. And I was like, even if I don't want to, it would just start happening. And then I would have this self-created pressure to maintain that person, and to be that person all the time with the Vibe movement.
Well, but I even see this in what we've talked about with, you've had some comments where you've made them uncomfortable with your content.
Oh, I didn't. That was fun.
I didn't mention Chrissy has a channel, and I will leave links below. And on her channel, it's called Tattle-Tale. I meant to do this at the beginning. I forgot. Her channel's Tattle-Tale, and basically that's what she's doing. She's just telling on herself.
It's a video diary.
Yeah, and she's just, whatever it is, she's just putting it out there. And it has made some people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Even people she knows and has relationships with.
Yeah.
And see, to me, I think part of that is that they live in this construct where we have these personas, and you not sticking to that is part of what's making them uncomfortable.
I'm over it. It's exhausting. And then, so one of the things, again, I discovered with Holly is she talked about core values and how we all have different core values.
Right.
And she was like, yours is freedom. You need constant freedom. And I felt like I was creating my own bondage.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like I can't keep labeling myself different things. I don't want any labels.
Right.
I sat down at a family dinner recently, and they're like, are you still vegan? And I said, I'm not anything. I have no labels. And they were like, okay. But that's literally where I'm at right now. I'm like, I am done trying to become who I am. I just want to be whatever that is.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it makes total sense.
But yeah, that channel is definitely causing some cringies apparently.
Well, again, it's not everybody is in that space. Like, they're just.
You know, it's funny. I have to laugh. I've asked a couple different people to, if they were like, you know, like this. I'm like, oh, come talk on the channel. And there's few people that are sitting down. They're just letting it out. And I'm like, yes, you know, and it's so freeing and so liberating. But there's some people that are like, oh, I could never do that. I don't want to talk about myself. That's awkward. That's weird. That doesn't. It's not me. But I'm looking at the people that are really sticking to that script, and I'm going, you document your whole life on Instagram. Like not judging.
No, but again, that's not.
But that's not.
It's not really
it's
real.
Not real.
Right.
So we can post the pictures, but we can't talk about what's going on behind the pictures.
It's not real, but again, it is like it's a polished version of the persona.
Yeah.
Like.
And I got tired of that too. I was doing that. Oh, that's all I was doing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. I think it's wonderful that you realize this about yourself, because we all have these things, and at least now that you're aware, you can avoid those things that will make you feel boxed in like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was just doing it to myself, but I don't. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to keep taking fractions of a moment and you know, filtering it down. And I don't mean just with a filter. I mean like, you know, metaphorically filtering that moment down and then displaying it for the world and going, oh yes, that's my life. No, well, there was a whole thing that happened before that.
I think, well, see, I look at it this, I like the word distillation.
Oh, what's that? It sounds like an SAT word.
Well, it's about bringing it down to its most simple, most basic form and its purest form. And that's what I'm after. It's like, yes, all this other stuff matters, but like I'm again, that's why I'm doing trauma work. I'm trying to filter out in a different way. I'm trying to boil, burn that stuff away so that I can get back to the most simple, most authentic, most pure self, truth, whatever.
Did you ever used to, because I used to, and I'm like over that, I can't do this anymore, but I used to, and I don't know if you have, I ever been like embarrassed of just being like a human, just like of self, of like errors, of emotions, of mistakes?
I don't know if embarrassed is the right word. I think for me, there are times where I don't know, it's an ego thing. It's like maybe I'm angry at myself. It has to do with the way I was raised. So like we were raised differently, obviously, so it manifests. I think it's a similar core thing, but it manifests differently. Okay. So for me, it's not really embarrassment as much as it's like I don't want to talk to you about it. I don't want it to be pointed out because like it's like
a frustration.
It upsets me. Yeah, it makes me angry and like like why that was stupid. Why did you do that? Or you know, rather than it's I guess more self-deprecating.
Yeah. No, I would just be embarrassed. Like a lot of shaming, but like in a sad way.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You're laughing. No. I'm like, it's hilarious. Self-shaming.
But no, yeah, I get that. Like again, I think it's the same, but it just manifests differently. Yeah. For me, it's frustration, and for you, it's
And I think that's why this little video diary is so therapeutic for me, is because I'm finally like, this is me. Sometimes I'm this, and sometimes I'm sad, and sometimes I make mistakes, and sometimes I say dumb things, and like I'm just allowing myself to be human without labels and without embarrassment of being human self and without fear of judgment. I mean, I'm not excited about the judgment, but I feel like I'm finally in a place where I'm like, I can handle it. I feel grounded enough where I'm like, okay, I don't have to attach myself to that opinion, even if it's polarized positive. It just, there's like a small separation that I'm like, okay, like cool, whichever way you're looking at me, it's fine. That's for you to, that's your perspective. It's okay.
For me, I find all of this it's kind of like waves in the ocean. It's like an ebb and flow, because I feel like I can get into these spaces where I'm just like, I'm just there, you know, like I'm in the zone, but it never lasts. Like there's always more work, even on the same thing. Like it like what were you just referring to? Like, because it sparked the thought. Whatever the point you just made.
Other people's perspectives.
Other people, yeah. So like I can get into that space, and I'll be like, yeah, it doesn't matter. And then, you know, months later, a year later, whatever, I can realize this person's comment on my video made me so happy. Like it really impacted my self-esteem. You know what I mean? Like in a good way. Yeah. But you're still like, I was in a space where it didn't matter. Yeah. But now I'm, you know, like I can never stay in the space. It doesn't matter what topic we're talking about. Like I can get into the perfect space, but it never.
Have you ever had like a dance with like a negative perspective?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh really?
Witches,
I'm like, who would not like Drew?
Witches on the internet can get it. Can get it.
Why?
Well, because we're gonna burn in hell.
Oh, here we go.
Or actually, it's almost worse from the atheists because they just want to argue with you.
Is that someone who doesn't believe in anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Christians, like, at least I can see where they're coming from, and it's annoying, but I just delete your comment. But they're not.
So that's what I was about to ask you, how you handle it. Do you just ignore?
Yeah, most of the time
you don't engage.
No. I have one video where I did, okay, the first time it ever happened, I engaged, and I plainly admitted, I'm like, I don't know anything, and I could be totally wrong, but this is what I believe, and this is what makes my life good. And the person's like, well, they just went off on a tear, and then they said, why can't you just admit you don't know? And I'm like, I just did.
They just want to fight.
Right, they just want to fight. So I stopped talking.
Yeah,
I stopped. And I don't engage anymore in things like that. I won't delete or block you, though, unless you're nasty and aggressive. Right. Except if you leave Bible passages and things like that, which they do, I will delete that because that's not what my channel's for.
Isn't that so interesting? Okay, so like even when I was a social media addict and I had every social media app happening, I was always on something, scrolling on something. And there's things that would get my attention and I'd be like, yeah. And there's things that it just didn't interest me or I didn't agree with or whatever.
I just keep scrolling.
And I just would scroll back. Yeah. Like my attention only went to the things that was fun. I was like, oh, me too. Oh, me too. But then if it was something where I was like, I don't know. I never would think to stop and bring my attention, focus, and energy to something that didn't resonate. I only focus on, so I'm like, but it's so common.
But there are people, I
don't get it.
There are people who love to argue. There are people who feel like they need to be right. And then I think
never right.
I think with a lot of times with Christians, they do feel like they're on a mission to like save people. So like there's that aspect of it too. So, but again, I'm not gonna I just don't.
Yeah, when I used to waitress, and I think it was, I assumed, we didn't have a conversation. I was just like, what do you want to drink? So I assume it was just based on mostly what I look like. I have a lot of symbols on my hands, and my hair was usually colored and stuff, back then. And I would approach the table, and I'd be talking about sweet tea, and they'd be like, we pray for you. And right away, I was like, please do.
Yeah. Okay.
Lay it on me. Yeah. And I would just stand there awkward. And they would lay this prayer on me, and some of the prayers felt good, and some of them were pretty condescending. But either way, I was for it.
Look, if you say you want to pray for me, that's fine. Like that's wonderful. That's beautiful. But I know that at least where I live, if they're like, we're gonna pray for you, that basically they're saying it's an insult, right?
Well, it depends on the prayer. I've heard it both ways. I've had some prayers that I was like, that was really actually lovely, and then I've had some prayers I'm like, all right. I think I was just attacked, but I can't invest. I couldn't invest in it. I didn't care. I would just be like, okay, thank you. So sweet tea, unsweet.
No, yeah, I agree. Back in the game. It's better not to engage at all. It's better just to ignore it. Even when we started the H&H channel, I have an Instagram for it and I have a TikTok for it because my partner Erica, she doesn't do social media. Yeah. So I'm in charge of the social media, which is fine. Yeah. So I made the TikTok and I posted the first clip of a video, and the first comment we got was, "The fuck is mysticism?" And I was just like, oh my fucking god. I didn't delete the comment. I'm like, you can watch the clips because we talk about it in there, but I'm not going to engage you because I know what you're trying to do. Yeah. I'm not interested.
It's so weird. We're in such a weird space in the world right now. I don't get it. I feel like all day I'm just like, I don't understand. Like I don't. There's so much I just feel like I'm not understanding. I don't get it, but I guess I don't have to. It doesn't matter.
Yep. It has nothing to do with me. Because to me, when I look at things like that, I'm like, that tells me everything I need to know about you, and this has nothing to do with me, and so I'm just gonna go on with my day.
And I thought of something. I was just talking to Halito about it the other night. I thought of something. I'm preaching on this Tattle-Tale channel about, speak your truth and activate your throat chakra, and people are coming on and speaking. Okay, but then if someone's gonna speak out in a comment, for example, let's say it's something really negative. Well, okay, I have to allow for that because I have to practice what I'm preaching. I can't just delete that person and block that person. Like, I can't say, I want you to have freedom of speaking your truth and self-express only if I like what you say.
Okay, I agree with what you're saying, but I would not engage with that.
Oh, no.
Right.
No.
And then the other thing is, honestly, that's your space. Like, this is the space that you're creating.
Oh, I didn't think of it that way.
Okay, and this is what you
that's
want it to be.
interesting.
Like, and I've even heard other YouTubers, and I agree with this at least to a certain extent,
Yeah.
that I am responsible for the space that I'm creating, right?
Huh.
And like, if what you're doing doesn't fit what I'm trying to build, you can go do that anywhere else. I can't stop you from doing
Right.
that, but I can decide if you can do it here. Now, like I said, I don't delete most of them. Like, it's just, if it's not, again, if it's a big block of the Bible, I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not what I'm doing here. So I'm getting
Or I
rid of
wouldn't
that.
want people to fight
Right.
on each
Right.
other. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
want that. I would not want that on my page.
Then
like,
you could just, you know,
for them.
yeah, if you could see who was
Yeah.
being nasty and.
Well, I mean, I have a tiny little group. I don't have a
But
problem.
I'm just saying, like,
the 4 people that watch.
I'm just saying,
They're not
I
fighting.
agree with what you're saying, with
Yeah.
what you said, but remember that this is
Yeah.
your space that you're creating, and they don't have a right to
Oh, that's
pollute
such an
your space.
interest. I never even thought of it like that. I actually thought the opposite. Like once I put it out, it's not mine anymore.
I mean, they can do what they want with it, but if they're coming into your comment, that's your comment. You're the only one that has control over what happens in that comment section. I mean, they can type,
Big
but like they can't
responsibility.
delete, and they can delete their own, but they can't delete anybody else's.
Right,
They can't.
Right.
You know.
Right. Wow. Okay. YouTube 101. Okay. Okay. I'm ready
This
for
conversation took a weird turn.
No, I like it. So trauma.
No, I mean it's good. It's fine. But we do still want to film a video for your channel, so I think.
I know. Should we, or should we just use this one?
No, we should do one for your
Okay,
channel.
then that's
Yeah.
what we'll
So, thank you for joining us and hanging out with me and my friend Chrissy while we just talked about whatever came out of our mouth. And yeah, until next time, much love and gratitude.